Coming up on today's episode, Google may or may not have achieved quantum supremacy, V10 is rolling out with some really cool new features, and SpaceX redesigns the Starship again with 2 fins. Let's get ludicrous. Hey there, and welcome to Our Ludicrous Future. This is the podcast where we talk about all the cool future stuff that's happening today that's going to make tomorrow totally ludicrous. I'm Joe Scott from the Answers with Joe YouTube channel. With me back is Tim Dodd.
Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd. I'm actually here and stuff. I'm not on the road. What is this? Although I'm going to be gone on Friday. And with us is Ben Sullins.
What's up, guys? It's Ben Sullins from Teslanomics. Man, it is good to have you back,
It feels good. Guess what? After the Starship stuff, I think I have like maybe 2 or 3 weeks at home. Crazy, right?
Now, you need to be, because the meeting is coming up soon, right? The new update, isn't it this week?
Yeah. By the time this podcast comes out, it's September 28th, so Saturday. So it'll be basically tomorrow for those of you listening.
Yeah.
And so that means I leave Friday night, and I'm flying me and a camera guy down, Michael, the guy that's been helping me. He's shot several things with me, and we're gonna go down from there, do the presentation, and then also fly to Houston. I've got some stuff that I'm supposed to shoot there at Johnson Space Center for a video. So
Where do you fly to go to Boca Chica?
Brownsville.
Brownsville. Oh, okay.
So I had to go through Dallas, connection in Dallas, and then Brownsville, and then Brownsville to Dallas to Houston, and then I haven't booked the return yet.
Is that Southwest?
It's all American, actually.
Oh, okay.
American's the only one that flies. It's just this little regional thing. Yeah. So
Did Southwest, did that whole thing end where you couldn't fly across Texas on Southwest without stopping in Texas or something? Is that over?
Okay, so that was called the Wright Amendment. WRIGHT from, there was a congressman named whatever Wright. Anyway, so Southwest was hubbed out of Love Field. So when Love Field's been here since forever, that's like where JFK got off the plane. Yeah. But anyway, so when they built DFW Airport, which is going to be a much bigger deal, it was an international airport, so they basically put this rule that sort of strapped Love Field in place, so you could only fly to neighboring states. So you could fly to New Mexico, Oklahoma, Missouri, Louisiana. So Southwest was hubbed out of there, and you could fly anywhere. You just had to stop in one of those other states before you went anywhere else.
Weird.
But they repealed that maybe 5 years ago. Finally.
I remember having the most confusing time ever. I was flying from, was it Phoenix? Or it might have been San Diego, but we actually had to land in Dallas at Love Field for 2 hours and then continue. We didn't change planes. They didn't do anything. We literally just sat there.
Yeah.
No.
And afterwards, I'm like, I was like, how did we book this? Whose idea? Like we must not have noticed it took 13 hours to get to Florida from California, which it never should.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a ton to talk about, don't we?
We do.
What are we starting with here, boys?
Speaking of crap, I suck at this.
Things that fly.
There you go.
Is this
and
me?
Wings.
Oh, we're starting off big with SpaceX news, huh?
Do it.
Oh, man, it has been a crazy busy week. Elon's clearly been going down to Boca Chica a bunch to get ready, trying to get the team all prepped and stuff for a Starship presentation. And of course, the locals, there's a Boca Chica gal, and there's also Maria who's out there. There's and Austin Barnard. There's a bunch of people out there that are constantly updating people on the progress of these builds. And we started seeing the fins, the flappy air brakey things being installed. And, all of a sudden people were like, wait, those might be 180 degrees apart from each other, as opposed to, symmetrically 120 degrees. Because, the old render had 3 fins, and they're 120 degrees apart from each other. And these were opposite. They're 180 degrees. Looks nothing like the old fin design, much bigger, higher up. They're no longer, doesn't look like they're going to function as landing legs. All these things are coming out. And we're all just sitting here going like, wait, what? And it was just crazy. And we got some new pictures of Raptor these are from Austin Barnard, I believe, as well. I don't know why these aren't credited. They should be. But really cool pictures of Raptor kind of just sitting out in public, like really cool stuff. Really excited to see this literally coming together because they are literally trying to build this thing by Saturday, have it like full stacked. So let me show you the progress. And the next thing, Elon starts showing off these, which are going to be part of the.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah, these are all. If you're not listening, sorry, these are they're really shiny bits of stainless steel. And they're really they're kind of curved and in this weird angle and interesting. It's hard to tell.
It looks like a house of mirrors.
Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah, Enter the Dragon all of a sudden.
Yeah, seriously.
Nice reference.
And these are actually the Raceway and flap hinge Aero covers. So if you've seen this last picture, there's this big gap between the fin and the fuselage. Uh-huh. So these are the Raceway and hinge Aero covers. So they're going to attach them somehow to that. I mean, they have a lot of work to do. It's Thursday now. They have to install all of those, get the top installed, get the top fins going, maybe get the landing legs on. It won't be totally done by Saturday. There's no way. And they even brought the Florida team out. It doesn't really matter. We don't need this. It's arbitrary, but I think he really wants the presentation to be like, look, this is it, basically,
It's not going to fly on Saturday, right?
No.
Okay.
No, we're
what if
a
a bird flew into it and the whole thing just shatters?
It's made out of Legos.
Right.
It is in Texas.
What's that mean?
Know.
Birds? Big birds in Texas? Are you
I
trying
think that Manley said something about Enter the Dragon.
Awesome.
Well done, sir.
And it's
course.
a dragon
No.
capsule?
No dragons.
Good try.
There
Into
was
the
a
Starship.
dragon somewhere there. Yeah.
Maybe
It's a
someday,
dragon
Ben
ship.
will. Maybe someday. And Elon's was showing us some closer shots of this stuff. And I don't remember if this is when we started seeing. God, Twitter's a mess now. By the way,
There you go.
Twitter is a mess. How do you get to the? I don't know.
What are we looking at here? There he is.
Well, there's me. I don't
Day
know.
astronaut.
Let's
It's
keep
me.
looking here. People also hang on. These are pictures from Boca Chica gal. This is on the NASA Spaceflight Forum. Someone noticed that they were installing these things on the left side of the picture. You see this big black kind of weird looking thing. And then people pointed out, wait, those are literally Tesla Model S and Model X batteries. They're literally taking, I believe it's 6 of these and putting them in the nose of Starship.
Why? It's like a lot of weight to
It
add.
does seem like a lot of weight.
Because
Well,
each one is 2,000 something pounds.
well, why do you think you would need that much electricity?
It's an electric
So
rocket.
that you could run a really big screen TV?
The biggest, an old tube. They were trying to run a 42-inch tube television, and they need some battery
So when
packs.
you get to Mars, you will just assemble a rover on site. And if one breaks down, you've got 6 more battery packs to go.
No.
Hey, wait, hold on. So, sorry, random tangent. But has anyone... So, okay, you guys know this stuff. Solar panels absorb UV rays, right? And create energy. Is that right? Or is it heat that causes it?
It's It's light.
It's right. Okay.
I don't know if it's
so,
UV, but it's light.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't either.
Okay, so on Mars, the atmosphere is, what is it, 1/60th or 1/100th what we have here or something
It's
crazy?
1%.
1%. Okay, so it's not there. So would solar panels work way better? And in theory, the Matt Damon recharging his rover thing, it wouldn't take as long? Or would it be worse because it's so much further away?
It's 4 times, so it's twice as far away, which means it's 4 times less solar energy gets to it because of the square inverse law. Mm-hmm. So,
but the atmosphere only being 1%,
the atmosphere
block
actually
as much.
doesn't block that much. You have to have significantly bigger solar panels. Because I think about it, UV light goes straight through clouds, basically goes through basically everything. And if
there's certain kinds of UV though that do and don't, right?
Yeah,
I think Joe, you just did a video on this.
Yeah,
Not
come
really
on,
on
Joe.
UV that much, but
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Has anyone
infrared.
calculated it, though? Because I would love to know.
Oh,
that.
yeah, of course. I mean,
course.
they have Mars rovers that use solar panels, and they have to know the exact amount that they utilize. You know, they calculate that out to the milliwatt, if that's a thing. Wait,
Like,
what, microwatt?
how long would it take you
know.
to charge your Tesla from solar on Mars? That's what I'm getting.
So long. So
It would. Okay.
long. Yeah. It'd be good luck. You better have a huge solar field, like a football field sized solar field, and it'll still take days probably.
Okay.
Yeah,
Enough
it's
of
not.
that tangent.
It's not great. Okay, so why do you think they need motors?
To run the
Or,
fins?
I mean, yeah, batteries. Dang it, I ruined it. Yeah.
Well, you
Because
pointed at the
motors.
fins on the thing.
Yeah, so I posted this thing explaining how the pitch yaw. Oopsies. Ooh, don't want to hear me. Jeez, that's confusing. The pitch, yaw, and roll work with this type of control surface because it's pretty unique. You know, when you have these large flaps. And I had done a video about this a year ago. I had explained how that like re-entry system works. It's again super weird, super unique. But, you know, this is the most like concrete we're seeing it in person. So a lot of new questions are coming up, including Viv at Falcon Heavy on Twitter goes, might be super obvious to everyone with an engineering background, but what's used to actuate the fins? Some kind of small motor. And Elon goes, many powerful electric motors and batteries. Force required is enormous as entire fin moves. More about this on the 28th. So
Well, and
those
the pressure
battery packs,
that the atmosphere is putting on it as it's coming back in has got to be enormous too.
yeah,
I mean, that's kind of the whole
exactly.
point.
I mean, it legitimately, like, I have that video somewhere. Well, I ended up doing a video about how this stuff works again, kind of to update it with 2 fins versus 3. And that re-entry, you know, yeah, you have to be able to actuate those really quickly and be able to control it so that it can have this nice controlled descent through the atmosphere. And it's going to require a lot of force to actuate those. So that's what those batteries are for. We're seeing these massive, I think it's 6 people counted. I don't remember if it's 3 or 6. A substantial amount of electrical juice is in the nose of Starship.
That's cool, man.
Which is just, yeah, I think that's awesome. Like, that's super, super cool. And he kept going. We keep seeing all these new pictures and stuff. And he basically let us know that there are going to be 6 body-mounted legs, too. So there's going to be 6 legs, like 2 windward, 2 under each fin, and 2 leeward, which he says provides redundancy. So, yeah, this is totally different. This is like a totally, totally different beast. And it's really, it's coming together so fast. Everything's changing. Like, everything's up in the air right now. Like, nothing's off the table. But we're seeing it really physically come together, and it's so cool. It is so cool.
So this is the one in Boca Chica. They're also building one in Florida.
Correct.
Do you know, is it the same design in Florida with the 2 fins? I mean, I'm kind of going to assume it is, but I mean...
I think so. That is still kind of to be figured out. I think I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of A/B testing between the two. Like, that would be a pretty SpaceX thing to do. But I don't think we're going to be seeing the 3 fins with integrated landing legs anytime soon. Maybe it will happen someday again if they. But I think this is an easy path forward. You separate your landing gear from your control surfaces. You know, that just seems like an easy way to move forward. Give themselves plenty of aerodynamic surfaces so they really can control that descent and re-entry. And maybe once they get it figured out, you know, start trimming it back. I think that's the idea, is like start it off, just get it going, and then start, you know, hone it in and trim back. Like, literally those fins might start shrinking someday as they learn how to, you know, really exploit and glide. Because Elon did mention that they will need to provide lift. You know, anything can provide lift going fast enough. A capsule coming through the atmosphere, like an Apollo capsule, they actually can provide lift and go back up just by turning and rotating and having the center of mass offset. They can actually change and steer a freaking capsule. Anything can provide lift with enough speed, you know?
What comes to mind is a golf ball, how you look at the ball and it just seems whatever, there's these little dimples on it, but you see a pro golfer hit it and they can make it do these magical things. You're like, how is that? And it's just about it spinning at the right force and the right whatever wind resistance, and it does all this crazy different stuff. Or like even in soccer, how they'll, like, you know, bend it around them because it has like little tiny, you know, dimples in it that when given the right forces, like, it does the thing.
Yeah, it's so weird. So so what they're going to need to do, because this is something that I still have a hard time grasping, is an ablative heat shield. You are altogether, like, the total amount of heat that the vehicle experiences is less when you use an ablative heat shield, but the peak temperature for like a short period of time is really high, because the ablative heat shield can take it. It can ablate and flake and let material flake off intentionally. That's what a normal heat shield does. A reusable one, and something like the space shuttle ceramic tiles, what this will do, you actually induce more heat altogether, but you have to be able to, like, control how hot your vehicle's getting. So that's why the space shuttle did the same thing. The space shuttle would basically sit there at its maximum temperature, and if it needed to cool down, it would, it could pull up out of the atmosphere a little bit. And if it needed it, and if it was, cool enough, basically, they would calculate all the stuff ahead of time. They'd know the exact trajectory coming in. But I mean, can you imagine the math on that? Like, okay, you need to land here, and in order to land here, you have to be able to come in at this angle. But then at this angle, you're too hot now, so you have to pitch out, and then that's going to change your trajectory down the, like all the, who, how, what? So that's what the similar things
or something.
It's almost like the rocket engineers are really, really, really smart people. Weird.
It's like rocket science.
So that's a similar thing's going to happen here. And of course, as this brought up, people have been like, sounds more and more like the space shuttle. It's going to have lift. It's like, first off, is that really a bad thing? Like, the space shuttle was awesome. Like, why did we forget this? The space shuttle was like the most advanced piece of machinery ever. And for the most part, it was great. Yes, it had some problems, but this is basically what they're doing, is addressing these problems and making it so it can land on any planetary body, because it doesn't rely on lift and to land, for the final landing bit. It can land propulsively on a dime or a 9-meter surface.
On a giant dime.
Water landing.
Yeah, so I think that's something that people need to keep in mind, is like, yeah, the space shuttle wasn't wrong. Like, the physics there weren't wrong. There was a phenomenal machine. Yes, it had some things that, like, it would be cool if we could have seen it evolve more. And of course, some of those principles apply. It's a freaking giant rocket ship falling, through the atmosphere. Like, yes, a lot of principles that apply to the space shuttle also apply to this. That's just physics.
Well, and also, you're talking about the easiest path forward might be to sort of emulate what we've already done before.
Yeah.
With the space shuttle.
Take known variables, take a known trajectory, and replicate portions of that. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel entirely, Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so this is, I think we're going to learn a lot on Saturday. I think Elon, knowing how public he's been with so many of these, like, things, I think they're going to just basically full mic drop Saturday, just be like, boom, like, here's how far we are. This is, and what's funny, I actually was watching, I don't remember what brought this up, but I was reminded that, I think at the Falcon Heavy initial launch, so when was that, February 2018, Elon was like, yeah, by the end of, like, next year, we're going to start doing atmospheric flight tests of Starship. And then as soon as we can, we're probably going to start doing Starship, like, going out and turning around and, like, coming back for really fast atmospheric reentry. Like, his timeline is on. I
wonder if there's, like,
accurate.
a consultant or somebody that's, like, helping him with that.
Well, I think that he just really is getting his way on this stuff right now. Well, and SpaceX, like, they got money, they got funding. I think their investors are really believing now that Starlink's starting to become operational and being proven out, and they're just going to be deploying that, and that's just going to be printing them money. Like, I think people are just...
That's a crazy thing, right? Like, I think about that. So the idea behind rocket companies generally is that you have a client that makes a satellite or something, and they want to put it in space, but they don't also make rockets, so they hire you to put their thing in space, right? That's like a general how it works, the economics of it.
Right.
Here, I mean, with Starlink, SpaceX could almost just say, all right, screw everyone, we're just doing our own stuff, and whatever. Now, guess what? No one could get to space, or, you don't have to... Like, your options for companies that can send your stuff to space just drop dramatically, because we're just going to push our own satellites up there. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like they totally could do that, and it still would be a completely viable business. I love that.
Of course. Yeah. It's nuts. And I think because people see that path forward, investors see that path forward, they're very like, yes, let me give you more money. And that's why we're seeing, this development go from, this is insane. This is I was there every time I've gone back. So I was there in July, or was it August? Yeah, July, August, and now September. Seeing how quickly the like build out of the facilities has been, seeing how quickly the build out of the physical vehicle has been, like, this is nuts. Yeah. It's so weird, guys.
What's also kind of nuts is how fast they're going to start making Teslas in the Shanghai factory.
Yeah. Tell me about this.
Fine.
Guess what, Tim? You were done talking about that.
Fine.
It's fine because I'll be talking about it all next week, too.
Because I segued that.
I'm usually the one to cut him off, man. Okay, so let's talk a little bit here about a body in white, which don't know what your perception of that is, but that means a car. And it's a car that hasn't been painted, but is ready to be painted. And Tesla now has a complete Model 3 body in white at the Gigafactory 3 in Shanghai. And production of said cars is said to start October 14th, which is just a couple of weeks away. Probably right around when I'm going to have my second child. So maybe they'll just give us one as a gift or something. So
from China.
This is crazy because first off, just the building of this entire factory and how everything is going is bananas. According to the report here, it took them 8 months from groundbreaking of the Shanghai factory to the output of the first body in white. So a body white is like not fully complete car, like it's not going to drive, but it's like the actual like body parts of it, I guess you could say, like, right? So the actual like the panels and the doors and the chassis and all those bits. Yeah. So and they have Grace Tao, the Tesla global VP in charge of China. Also said that amid the establishment of the Lingang new area and in the issuance of preferential policies to support the developments of intelligent networked vehicle industry, autonomous cars, we look forward to deepening cooperation with all parties in the application of intelligent networking technology and the promotion of new energy vehicles, electric vehicles, in the future, so as to jointly help the new area achieve greater development. So this is going to be kind of like the autonomous electric vehicle manufacturing hub, is what she's alluding to. China obviously knows how to manufacture things very well. That's what they're known for, and what their kind of value prop is to a lot of things. But the fact that they're able to do that, mass production is anticipated from October 14th. That's insane. So
yeah,
I think this year we might see a couple thousand total being produced. But then that means that if they're able to ramp up to volume production starting next year, Tesla's, I think I already put next year's estimate for vehicle production at like over 500,000. It might go quite a bit more than that because they might be able to put out close to 500,000 cars just from this one factory if they keep it up at this pace. So
God.
Crazy. And huge for China because China is the world's largest EV market. They do have incentives that are changing back and forth, but I believe these cars get the incentives where some of the smaller BYD ones, which are the more common ones over there, are either no longer have them or those incentives are phased out. So there's recently been all these reports of like China EV sales are dropping. It's like, yeah, because the incentives for these cheap little ones went away. So imagine that. Financial incentives do drive consumer behavior. No shock to anyone there. But this will be the kind of new hot thing that could really, just get Tesla even closer to that 1 million cars per year. So cheers to the team there. This has been amazing to watch.
That's like people don't, if you're not paying attention to this stuff, you'd see whatever. But like, are you kidding me?
It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
It's insane.
That was a marshy field like 7 months ago.
Uh-huh. And, some of the things there, too, there are so many advantages for this factory because it's in China. So, for example, if you need aluminum and steel and stuff like that, like it's all there. Like you've got
Yeah.
it. You don't have to like ship that halfway around the world to build one of these
Right.
things. So
Oh man.
just everything I think is going to be, and even now I believe that Elon also alluded that they're going to be doing different things with batteries over there than they do here. They were going to be changing the chemistry of the battery to not what is it now? It's nickel, cobalt, and aluminum. I think they were going nickel, cobalt, and manganese, which is a totally different kind of thing that's happening. So there's, I assume, after the Starship event, after the truck unveil, we'll get the battery day. Do you guys remember Tesla talking about battery day?
Oh, yeah.
So I assume we're going to hear some major updates from that. But even then, if like you just think about where batteries are made, LG Chem, Panasonic, the people that make them, they're all much closer to China than they are to the United States. So again, when it comes down to actually manufacturing stuff, this factory is just going to like in a year's time, we're going to be looking at the U.S. factory going, oh yeah, that the slow one, right? It's going to be like the one that doesn't produce mini cars.
God.
So they had a story, I don't remember if we talked about it or not, but about how there might be a new battery that gets like 1,000,000 miles or a 1,000,000-mile battery or something like that. Is that NMC
NCM?
chemistry that you're talking about? Or NCM?
The Maxwell. Is that the Maxwell purchase thing, or is that?
I don't think we have any
get
details
confused.
on that. So here's the report about switching to the NCM battery for the Chinese Model 3 instead, and LG is going to do the production, it says. So LG Chem, they're one of the big battery manufacturers out there in the world. So according to, again, Elon, he was saying last year that they will manufacture all the battery modules and packs at the China Gigafactory as they do. So basically they're combining what the Gigafactory 1 and the Fremont plant do into a single plant. That's, what we know. Then the report was that LG Chem convinced Tesla to switch to this NCM 811 battery based on longer driving distances per charge. It also hinted that it may be able to begin mass production of NCMA, so that would be nickel, cobalt, manganese, I can never say it, and aluminum.
That's a weird word.
Which is even higher in nickel, beginning, which is I think right now 80% or more. It's nickel, beginning in 2022 to apply to EVs. So this is like kind of a big deal in terms of changing the chemistry, because Tesla kind of had one of the things that Tesla really like is great at was what they did with batteries. I mean, that was really like what made it all possible, and why Mercedes and Audi and everyone else can only make a 200-mile EV, but they can make them, close to 400 miles. So if this stuff just for like longevity and energy density, etc., that's going to be huge. And I believe the NCM style batteries are the ones that are currently used in the Powerwalls. So they already, I believe, use this kind of thing, but it's not quite the same. And there's so many different reasons why you would do these kind of things, right? Like if you need to charge super fast versus if you can charge slower and then have a higher energy density, or hey, this thing needs to be able to get hit by a truck at 50 miles an hour and not blow up, things like that, right? There's so many considerations depending on these on the different chemistries and the different cell. Like the prism batteries versus the pouch batteries versus the cells, etc. So this is all like the China stuff is just crazy, and I don't even think any of that is related to what you were asking about, Joe, for the 1,000,000-mile battery, which I still don't grasp why that's so important. Like, do you guys have an argument why you need a battery pack to last 1,000,000 miles versus 700,000 miles, which is kind of where they're at now? Like I just don't
like the rest of the car wouldn't completely fall apart by that point anyway.
Well, okay, so the motor they've tested at 1,000,000 miles, and the drivetrain and all that stuff is rated for 1,000,000 miles, but like let's assume a battery pack can only last 300,000 miles, right? Even though we have data that says that they're lasting well above and beyond that, but let's just say 300,000 miles. That is a lifetime, man. You are not going to keep your car for 300. There's just, I don't know. Maybe if someone's listening and they have a car that literally they bought new and has now over 300,000 miles, like let us know in the comments. I'll give you a shout out. It's amazing. But if you think about it, that's like 30 years of driving, dude.
But I think to that end, if you're like globally, like, recyclable consciousness, not having to have a car that you have to break down and recycle the battery pack at 300,000. Having a car that can last 1,000,000 miles, I mean, that's good for the environment. It's good for, I mean, but yeah, that car is going to be 30 years old.
That's what I mean. It's like I get
yeah.
it. I get that.
Yeah.
But it's almost like one of those things where, so a good analogy or something I think of is horsepower in cars. The limiting factor on, say, 0 to 60 or a quarter mile race or whatever isn't horsepower. It's the grip on the tires. So like above something like 500 horsepower, it may as well be infinite horsepower. So you can make a 5,000 horsepower car, but if the tire can't grip the road, it doesn't matter what the horsepower is. So it's kind of like
it spins out real fast.
right. Like at some point, does it matter? Like, okay, 1,000,000 mile. What if it was 3,000,000 mile battery pack? Like,
right.
What's the difference? Like,
right.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I agree it's good. We're doing the right thing, but is it relevant? Is the question?
Yeah. I would love to see the breakdown of how much CO2 is created by 1,000,000 miles on an EV versus a gas car. Like, can you imagine how many tons of CO2 a gas car makes in 1,000,000 miles?
Insane.
Right. Yeah.
The 2-Bit Da Vinci guys, Ricky and Chris, just did an interesting video looking at hybrids, and I thought that was kind of an interesting thing where they were there was a lot of numbers. I don't know if I got through all of the details, but they were kind of making the argument that something like a plug-in hybrid, like a Chevy Volt, which I believe they discontinued. Anyways, a car like that gets 40 to 50 miles on battery and then uses gas might actually be better over a 5-year period in terms of the CO2 emitted than a pure electric, because the extra emissions from making the battery were so much less than a full, like 100 kilowatt hour battery pack. I'd have to go back and watch it again, but it was an interesting argument, right? Of like, what is the optimal solution?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was the CO2 thing, but the part of it, that video I watched it too, the part of it that stood out to me was if you only have so many batteries in the world right now and you can't if you can't make all the cars in the world EVs because there's just so many batteries to go around, then you could either have, let's say, 2 out of 10 cars be full EVs, or you could have all 10 cars be a plug-in hybrid, and that solution would actually be better overall for the environment and stuff.
Yeah, one kind of to the 1,000,000 mile battery pack point. Seth in our Discord says that, he basically was saying, like, what about like squad cars and enterprise cars like that? Some of those do put on crazy miles, but the thing with like even a squad car is actually an electric vehicle for a police car is the absolute dream, because they sit and idle literally 24/7 basically, just to like run all their systems, to run a tiny little alternator to power. Actually, they have to upgrade the alternator. That's part of those like interceptor packages, so they can power all their electronics. But like, why? Are you kidding me? Like, that's the perfect place to have a big old fat battery pack. I think Model S should just be the standard, a stripped down Model S that's like, not as luxurious, but like a more normal car for police that'd be the dream police car.
Dream police.
Dream police.
Wasn't that a
Thought police?
A Nightmare on Elm Street thing? Or that's the Dream Warriors. No.
That's the whole
Dream
Nightmare on Elm
Police
Street.
is a song.
And in my head, Dream police. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay,
Yeah, you're
sorry.
welcome.
I went 1984. The Thought Police is what came to mind for me.
Well, so we weren't scheduled to talk about this or anything, but I figured it's worth mentioning is that that whole Rivian Amazon fleet thing.
Yeah.
See, I when you were talking about enterprise cars, that's where my mind immediately went, was that sort of logistics implementation of it. That I would like to see a lot more of that, and I was happy to hear that they
that's
made that
that's
purchase.
huge. That's honestly, that might be one of the bigger pieces of news this week. Ben, you might have to start eating your shirt.
For why?
Remember
what?
Remember when you said
like Rivian?
No, I know you do, but remember when you laughed when they told you that maybe Tesla will have to buy batteries from us?
Yeah, I mean, still don't buy that.
I mean, of course, I don't buy it either. But like, this does, when you all of a sudden realize that, oh yeah, like Amazon is buying 100,000 vehicles from them, they're going to have a factory popping up that's going to be huge, backed by Jeff Bezos. Like, it's going to be a thing. Like, it's going to be a legit head-on competitor to Tesla, not just some startup. I think in this, they officially made it past the, like, we're trying. Like, this is like, okay.
Yeah. No, I think
there is no try.
Yeah. So I might even do a video, like a Dear Rivian video, because this was actually what I was hoping Tesla would do at the Semi unveil.
Yes.
Which was in 2017 that we figured that.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry, guys. My bad.
So, because this would have been, I mean, this is exactly what I'm like, dude. So from an economic standpoint, electric vehicles are amazing. So any company that uses vehicles for its function, like Amazon, electric vehicles just make sense. They're just cheaper to operate, and that's all that matters, right? They don't really give a crap what they look like or the consumer experience, et cetera, et cetera. Like, there's maybe some, they'll probably do as little as they possibly have to like keep the worker safe, or whatever, like things that are by law. Other than that, our goal is to make money. So this is a better money-making vehicle. So yes, hell yeah, let's do that. Who better to do it than Tesla? Well, you got a couple billionaires with a, measuring of appendages contest, and so that's not going to happen. But here you go. Now, I still think, though, that in order for this to work, because, I mean, they're going to have to basically at the Amazon factories or whatever have, like, superchargers, basically, like tons and tons of them. So there's going to be, or they could do swappable packs. That would be a really interesting design. I like really am dying to learn more about these vehicles. I feel like what we've got so far, what I've got from Rivian, is basically just a teaser, right? Like a little trailer for the movie. I want to know the plot here. I want to know the characters. I want to know. I mean, I know they're developing the batteries in Irvine, which is like literally an hour away from me. I'd love to go see exactly how that works. Are they doing cells? Are they doing prisms? Are they doing pouch batteries? What is the chemistry of them? All of that, because this is fascinating, I think. And yeah, cheers to Rivian. I just love that this is happening, right? You have Porsche forcing Tesla, maybe not forcing, but inspiring Tesla to upgrade the Model S. That's great. You have on this front, Amazon and Rivian pushing Tesla to probably work harder on the semi-truck kind of thing. Like, this is all great stuff,
Yeah. Two really fun points that came up in our Discord again. Sorry, I'm kind of paying attention. They had some really good points. First off, another thing for fleet vehicles like this, like just like this Rivian truck, USPS stupid little trucks, those are the worst vehicle. Like, those need to be replaced immediately by an EV because they don't drive more than 50 miles a day. They're literally just going and stopping, going and stopping, going and stopping. We're having regenerative electric motor. Would save them on brakes, would save them on everything.
Are you talking about like the postal service, or are you talking about
the little mail trucks?
UPS?
The little mail trucks.
USPS.
Oh.
USPS.
They don't walk? Where I live, they walk.
Around the country, there's millions of those dumb little USPS car things.
Well, they kind of drive the truck into the neighborhood and then walk around the neighborhood. But
that's what
sometimes. But in like more suburban areas, they'll drive these. A truck like these door to door, when you have the mailbox at the curbside, they just drive constantly all day. This, like, look at this,
that is a perfect use case. You said, yeah, I remember there was someone that they drove it on the dude's lawn. It was like kind of a funny video. Like his Nest camera picked it up. Yeah, tire tracks like up through there.
I would love to see the numbers. I'll bet you an electric car would pay itself off, or electric version of this vehicle would pay itself off literally in like a year or two, completely, and then just save the USPS and the government millions and millions of dollars. Because running this fleet, like, they're a nightmare to maintain, I hear. Like, they break down all the time, brake pads, all this stuff, they're idling constantly, all the things that we're talking about.
The economics of electric vehicles are so great that any company that uses it should just be, that's either, but they don't have options, right?
Yeah, they don't have,
That's the problem. It's a chicken and egg. It's like I doubt there's a company out there, certainly not in the U.S. with our, style of economy, that you could go to a CEO and say, hey, I'm going to save you like 70% on one of your biggest expenditures. Is that you in on that?
Right.
They all would say yes.
Yeah.
Like, there's no this is the beauty of economics and why it drives so much of it forward, because whatever pushback
sells
we may
itself.
get from the coal rolling people that follow Tim around in Texas, like when those people run the companies and they realize they're going to make more money by doing this, all that just disappears. Any other kind of like reasons they had to hesitate, gone at this point. If I'm going to make more money, that's a yes. That's just how it works in our country. So,
in fairness, it is a big upfront cost. It's a big investment.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that might be what kind of keeps people from, or
Lease 'em.
businesses from.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk to people all the time that drive 70, 80, 90 miles a day type of thing. And I'm like, you could literally lease a brand new Model 3 and it'd be cheaper than your paid for car that you're spending gas on that gets 16 miles to the gallon. Like it would you would literally drive it for free or save money. And this is, compared to a 14-year-old, truck or whatever. It's like, what are you doing?
And if you happen to have bought the full self-driving option, you may be able to drive it while listening to Spotify in your Tesla now.
Heyo.
Now-
Wait,
Looking, I still don't have
why
the update
only
yet.
with the full self-driving?
Well, that's
That's
the
early
current people
adoption.
that are getting version 10. So
Okay. Sorry.
Tesla version 10 is now going on wide release to people that have the latest edition, whatever, and full self-driving purchased. So that would mean Timothy, not Joe or myself. And included in that is Spotify built into your Tesla. Yes. And copyright strikes.
So you can listen to John Philip Sousa in your car.
Can you copyright? Can you copyright something like the Star Spangled Banner? Like, I know you can
No.
copyright, Whitney Houston
Wait.
singing it, but is it like if I wanted to do that song at a show?
It depends on how. So there's a certain length of time where it's copyright, and then it's like "Happy Birthday" just became public domain like 2
Right.
years ago.
Yeah.
What?
You might notice that "Happy Birthday" was almost never sung in movies or at TGI Fridays and stuff because they'd
Right.
be like "Happy Birthday" something
Yeah.
something
They'll always
stupid.
come up with these stupid.
That is amazing. See,
Oh, you didn't know that?
no, like it's amazing, and I'm like even more angry now. Anyways, back to the story. Tesla version 10 is here, and it has Spotify, which is amazing. We're all stoked on that. For the record, I absolutely hate Spotify's radio feature, but the playlist stuff that people that have been curated, I think, are fantastic. So for any of us that do this, and someone is maybe Tim, you said it, but I've had a lot of people say, "Well, I can just pair my phone." Yeah. You can, but that doesn't always work. And maybe your wife's in the car and her phone is paired instead of yours, and that'll obviously drive you crazy. So having it built in is cool. It's definitely better. What do you guys think? Like, do you use Slacker? I mean, we all hate it unanimously, but do you use it because like, oh well, I don't have to deal with touching my phone? Like, is there a benefit to it? Do you think, or does it not matter?
Well, I don't touch it at all.
Slacker.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
really?
I want to listen to I'm one of those people, I get stuck on an album for a week and I'll listen to it over and over until I hate it. Then I know I'm done with it. But
Until you can't sleep because it's just playing in your head.
yes, exactly. Then I know I'm done. But the thing is my Bluetooth has been really shisty on one of the most past 2 or 3 months. So I get in the car, the Bluetooth will be on until I close the door, and then it disconnects Bluetooth. And then I have to okay, and sometimes I have to go to connect phone and do all this stupid stuff. So if I could just not have to worry about that and just go to Spotify built in, that'd be very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it just because I'm super lazy. Okay, here's how lazy I am. This actually happened.
Should be a segment
Tangent here. Do you know the movie Johnny Dangerously? Old movie, has Michael Keaton in it, comedy. Yeah, you got to see it. It's funny. He plays this gangster in the 30s, and it's just this, gonzo comedy kind of thing. Anyway, I was in the mood to watch it the other day, and I'm on my TV, and I'm scrolling, and I'm like, surely it's on Netflix or Hulu or one of these things. It wasn't on anything. It wasn't even on on iTunes. I couldn't even buy it on iTunes. which kind of blew me away.
iTunes is still around.
Say what?
I thought they got rid of iTunes and it's called something else now, like
I
Apple
don't know.
Movies or something.
Well, on
Sure.
Apple TV, whatever.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, and then it occurred to me I actually have it on DVD, like sitting on the shelf right there. And if it had been on iTunes, I would have made the choice to spend $15 just so I didn't have to walk across the room and get the DVD. Like, it occurred to me that I am that lazy. And that in the car, that translates to me driving. I can reach the screen, but the phone is like, oh, I gotta lean forward. It's over there, and I gotta grab it, and I gotta push. Guys, gotta put buttons.
Well,
like, I'm that lazy. So actually having Spotify on the screen makes me happy.
But that's still, I brought up this point up the other day, like, you know, we treat it as like legally, it's fine to interact with the screen. Like, but you know, like you could be searching for something on the screen, like in maps and like typing it in. And like, to me, that's probably slower and maybe more dangerous than just using your phone and being like, da, 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 for a map, you know, for an app, you know, using a keyboard, like it's no different.
No.
Just because it's integrated into the screen doesn't inherently make it less distracting.
The data shows that when you take your eyes off the road is the thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you're doing. You
Yeah.
could be eating a hamburger or slapping your kid in the back seat, whatever. As long as soon as you
Not
take your eyes. So in fact, if you're talking on a phone call but still looking forward, it's much better than if you were eating a hamburger and not looking at the road. So
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, for me, so the cool thing is that I assume, I mean, we don't have details on it yet. Tim's waiting for the update, I think. And you ought to be able to sign in to your Spotify account, which would be really
I think
cool.
you can.
Yeah. Because that's what
think
you can do now with Slacker and TuneIn and whatever.
Well, that's kind of the whole point, is like it's your freaking Spotify account. Otherwise, it's just Spotify.
Yeah. So this is awesome, right? So Spotify, I think everyone here is super stoked on this. And then also, just to recap some of the other V10 features, we have Netflix and YouTube being
I actually forgot about that.
embedded. You'll be able to play them on Wi-Fi. I assume you'll be able to connect your car to your phone's Wi-Fi hotspot. I'm not sure about that. We'll have to test that, obviously. But you won't be able to do it over cell connection. There's some other stuff. There's some games. I don't know, whatever, Cuphead, whatever that is. The Tesla Theater thing is when the car's in park, you can watch Netflix and YouTube. So make sure to watch our Ludicrous Future on there. The driving visualization. There's like, I don't know, like a lot of this to me just seems like little minor changes. You know, is there any features here that you guys really feel, the maps one is kind of cool. It shows you ratings and if they're open.
Yeah, I like that.
That's really cool. I still think they need the search on the way feature. I think I've mentioned it before, but do you guys ever use that?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So if you're
Back in the day,
Right.
I don't think Google Maps has really ever done that.
Huh?
I feel like Google Maps doesn't really do that, do they?
They're the only ones that do it, aren't they?
Oh, I used to remember like TomTom and stuff back in the day had really good features of
Oh.
like search on the way, or adding a waypoint and stuff like that too.
Oh, yeah. So the idea is that if you're driving to Boca Chica, which we all should totally go do because this weekend is going to be the best weekend to see Starship, right, Tim?
God, I feel bad. I'm not trying to be a jerk about that, but can you imagine the night? I mean, this is like almost becoming like a raid to Area 51 type of thing. So, sorry, context-wise, I had to put out a PSA this morning. Like, don't go to Boca Chica this weekend. If you don't have a press invite, don't go to Boca Chica. That's like, it's really sad actually, because people are all excited, of course, naturally, but like this is the worst time to try to go. The security team is going to have a nightmare already. The communications team, like you are just, if you go there to try to like get in or something, no. Like go there when no one's there. Go there. It's a public road. You can drive past it anytime. Don't go when it's like the worst time to go. Like go there even Sunday, and you can thank me for it. Thank me, and the security team down there will thank me too, because like there's people talking about like, I'm gonna drive from Dallas. Like that's 10 hours so you can get there and get turned around. Like don't go. What are you doing? Booking flights to do what? Like dude, no.
because
Watch it in air conditioning at home.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh,
That's
I
like
don't know.
I always at the Tesla events. A lot of people go and they live stream from their phone at the event, and I'm always like, why are you doing that?
Like, see these cameras? that
yeah,
camera's a lot nicer.
like they have a full crew here, guaranteed.
Elon's mic'd, man.
Yeah, like that's gonna be way better just watching. Now maybe afterwards, if you want to do a live stream, like first impressions, that's something. But
Right. Yeah.
why would you watch my crappy cell phone version versus like production crew and team? Like, it doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
The guy who presses record vertically and then turns his phone horizontally so everything's sideways.
Yeah.
Let's watch that one instead.
So so updates to version 10 coming. I think that if they could add the search on the way feature, that would be super cool because that's something I would use often. Sentry mode stuff will be saved to a different folder for Sentry mode. I still think that it needs to be way better and smarter because I think someone tweeted it and it's so true. It's like, 99% of my Sentry mode shots are just me like frantically pulling at the door handle trying to get the thing to unlock. It's like not actually anything. So it'd be cool if there was a much better system in place, I'll say, to identify things that actually happen or whatever.
Well, you just got to have the right phone that connects every time.
Oh, well, see, I don't ever drive.
I don't have any false things with my phone still. It's just awesome. I'm back to like it being the best.
I drive one of the flagship vehicles. I don't go for the, the lower end models. And then they'll have Joe mode, the best mode.
Yeah,
of course.
Joe mode.
I always thought so.
So version 10. Also, there's an update to the mobile app, and we have a video.
Hey, can I real quick love that? I love that we complain about Sentry mode. Like the built-in enhanced security that records now on 4 cameras, by the way, instead of 3. The built-in security system that detects threats and puts a screen up and shows you the recording sucks. Like, wait. Like, it's updating
I think what
constantly.
it is it's like false positives. Have you ever went through your stuff, Tim, and tried to actually find the clips?
Yeah, the organization's a mess, but mine actually is pretty good about like detecting people going by, like pedestrians that are too close and stuff.
Mine is like if I park on the street and cars drive by, it's just,
that's all it is.
I recorded 350 events. You're like, okay, whatever. Like car isn't destroyed. I'm ignoring all
300 people tried to break into my car, man. I'm never parking there again.
Right. So on the app, you'll be able to do some new things. Like I believe this little video here, and we should credit this from CopterTube, and on Electrek, is able to roll the windows down. Is that what he just did? Okay, so he's got his app. He's got the windows are down. He can click close, and nothing happens. Maybe. Okay, this is like the worst
my
demo.
car can do that.
I know. We're watching a guy. Oh, there we go. You gotta click.
Just clicked it.
You gotta click the button, dummy. Okay, there it is. So that's cool. On my old Model S with the sunroof, you could do that. You could open it from the app, which was neat. So this would be cool. So I think this is neat, and I think also you're able to set like the defroster on the heat, the climate controls.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so that'd be cool. And Smart Summon, I don't know if that's going to be included or not, where it'll actually find you from a parking lot. We'll
go
see.
up to that thing. I think there is a thing that says like "Come to me." Look at his app, quick.
Right here?
No, the guy's app.
Up above?
The guy running it. Yeah, show it.
This one?
Oh, the video?
Yeah, look at the video. There, I think there's a new button that says like, boop, pause there. I saw a picture of someone saying like, it now has this, and it was like, "Come to me." Yeah, I don't see it on there, huh?
Come to Butthead.
To me. Yeah.
Dang it! I was excited for that.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I don't know. I still, it's funny. I still think that a Smart Summon feature where it can find you from a parking lot is probably more of a challenge to the system than just driving on a highway, because
I think so too.
there's many variables and unknowns, and basically because of cars coming and going, the shape of the parking lot changes constantly, and like lines may not be there, or may be there, like
curbs and
bushes,
and
it's probably a pretty difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
So,
it's crazy.
Oh,
I'm excited for it though.
Find Me is about. Do you see that
maybe
one?
maybe that's what I saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
So cool. Version 10, man. It's going to be a good one.
10. Yeah. Speaking of things that are like computing to do things really special, isn't there like a computer that's doing something special on the internet?
Quantum computers, guys. Want to talk about quantum computers?
Up next.
I just felt like talking about it right now.
Oh my
I was
God.
not cued
Prompted
for that
in any way.
So this is actually an interesting story. So Google, who has been working.
I like how you said this one's actually interesting. Like
Yeah.
the stuff we've been talking about. Thanks a lot, Joe.
What I meant
I was
was,
thinking, thank God we finally got to the interesting story.
no, what I meant was quantum computer sounds kind of boring, maybe, but this is actually kind of an interesting story.
It's always like one of those like someday type of things. Is this not a someday type of thing?
This is it may have happened, it may not have happened kind of thing. That's why it's interesting.
Okay, tell us about it.
So
aware or unaware?
Right. I can neither confirm nor deny. So apparently Google, who has been working on a quantum computer for a while. So let me back up just a little bit. So there's different types of quantum computing. There's quantum annealing and quantum gate computing. So quantum annealing is what D-Wave is, and it can have like 1,000. I think their biggest one right now is 1,000 qubits. I could be wrong about that. But it's a different way of sort of using a quantum algorithm to find an answer for the blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the other kind is quantum gate, and it's a lot more complicated, a lot fewer qubits. So what's on the picture on the screen, if you're watching, is actually a computer chip that Google had introduced, I want to say about a year ago, called Bristlecone. And it's got 72 qubits in it. Bristlecone. Like the tree.
That's
like a bristlecone pine.
It's a dumb name.
Dumb. But this was something that they're just kind of like experimenting on right now. Well, where this gets interesting is apparently there was a paper that's been leaked to NASA from Google claiming that they have reached quantum supremacy, which is basically a quantum computer doing something that a classical computer can't do. It's like shown to be faster than a classical computer. But this one wasn't on that bristlecone chip. It was actually on a smaller one. I believe it was 54 qubits on this one. And it was actually called Sequoia? Is that right? Hang on. Where was it? Gotta find it down here. Oh, Sycamore. Sycamore. That's what it is. 53 qubit chip called Sycamore. So basically it ran this algorithm or whatever. It ran this program, figured out something that would take how long did it take? In 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Here's the quote. In 3 minutes and 20 seconds, that would take today's most advanced classical computer known as Summit approximately 10,000 years.
Wow.
So that's a little bit of quantum supremacy right there.
No way.
Now, a few nuggets of backing up here a little bit. Quantum computers, like you're probably, never say never, but you're probably never going to have a quantum computer that's like a laptop that just does all of your classical computing kind of thing. It's more of a specialized functionality that you have for quantum computing. And there's actually places right now online, and I wish I had it in front of me, that you can actually use D-Wave and these quantum computers to run calculations and do the thing. But what gets interesting about this, again, is this was like a leaked document to NASA. This has not been confirmed. And we don't know for sure whether they were able to do this or not. But if they did, it would be a huge, this happened way earlier than people thought it would, if this is true.
Except for Ray as well.
Right. So a minor grain of salt here on that one. So that's interesting.
That's huge.
It's huge.
I mean,
It scares me.
Well, so it scares blockchain people as well.
Hey, that's me.
Because, all right, okay, well, so my Monday video is going to be on some blockchain updates. But blockchain, the whole thing is it's encrypted and it's anonymous and all that kind of stuff. Well, not the one thing, but the thing that quantum computers do better than anything else is break encryption. Like encryption kind of goes away when you have quantum computers.
Which is such, not even blockchain, that's just such a massive deal to everyone's lives that people don't even understand. Yeah. Like your phone, how credit card transactions work, how the electricity grid works, how all communication systems work. Like literally everything you use technologically is based or is using some level of encryption to do its thing. And without that, it would just be completely susceptible to hacking of any kind. So I'm scared again.
So good news, everybody.
Going with Joe's theme on his channel.
Yeah, of course. But we do need to talk about some of the positive things. Like, I mean, maybe NASA could sit there and run, or SpaceX with Starship re-entering, and how do you calculate the exact perfect trajectory that will keep your peak heating limited, but your total peak blah, 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 while re-entering at this blah, 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 while using as little of this blah, blah, blah. All of these variables, that's something a quantum computer can basically just like run every simulation simultaneously almost. Kind of in a sense,
weather comes to mind,
where
climate models.
Right. Yeah. So, people realize this, but when you see like any kind of weather prediction that's above, say, 5 days, it's just pure guessing game, really, because of how chaos theory works and our limits of classical computing that don't allow us to really model those things because it's just too many calculations that you have to do. And also our accuracy is so terrible, right? Like beyond a certain point, it could be tornadoes in a place that's never had tornadoes, or it could just be a sunny day. And like you really have no clue as to what's going to be what. But with quantum computing, you could literally calculate every possible scenario and kind of whittle it down. So
the quantum computer will know every single butterfly in Brazil and when they flap their wings and how that's going to create. Well, that's a good point. So there's that, but there's also things like, warp drives. I'm talking about like a computer that could like.
Right.
I know I'm going out there. Sorry, but that could do the sort of calculations on straight up space-time string theory type stuff and give us a whole new understanding of, the basics of reality kind of thing.
Oh, I think quantum computing is like our next, like, this will take us from the Industrial Revolution into like the quantum era, where it's like, remember how like we used to not understand like physics really, but now we have this like really strong grasp of our universe and like we can just like exploit everything because we know all the variables in it, Like I think that's something basically that it's going to get down to.
So what's the blockchain reference here though? It would break blockchain's ability to function because of encryption? Is that the idea?
That's what they talked about in that article. What was that? It's a Forbes article. But yeah, it's just that since all the blocks are encrypted and authenticated and everything, this might, it's not anonymous anymore. It's not encrypted because the quantum computer. If obviously you would have to make it do it, but you'd have to get into it. The quantum computing thing is so crazy. Like I have a basic understanding of it just because I did some research for a video, but it's still like it's basically a black box. Like they tell it to do a thing and then they get the answer, but they don't really know how it got to the answer.
42.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like they were saying in that article that I pointed out, there's sort of a redundancy there. They've got multiple cores kind of running so that they can agree with each other. Because otherwise it's like, how do you know it actually got the right number? Well, because this other one came up with the same number.
That's kind of the idea behind blockchain, is that all the things have to agree in order for it to be true. And this is where the 51% attack would work, where if you can get the majority of the blocks or whatever that are, you're asking, hey, does this match what you have? and a majority can agree with your version versus the actual version, then you can hack it to, be whatever you want to say, no, Joe doesn't have enough money to buy a $15 movie. He only has, he has to actually get up and grab the DVD. So
That'd be the worst.
Yeah. So I think like blockchain is a really interesting concept because it's kind of the shared version of the truth where I mean, this is something that like, you can go so deep in this concept, but since we can effectively, like maybe not perfected yet, but you can make an image of a world leader say and do anything you want them to do, and then use that on these massive online platforms to spread misinformation and really cause chaos in the world, because that's like a very real possibility today. We need a sort of shared agreement of what the truth is. And so blockchain has that idea of, oh, well, we need, X percent of the participants in this network to agree that this is the thing. Otherwise, we can verifiably say that that's false. So that's where I think blockchain has a really interesting hope for us, because it's especially if you're like living in a cave, like how do you know what's true out there and what's not when literally everything you see can be completely falsified? It's insane.
I think that's a scary mantra of just the state of humanity right now, is like everything, like, just with news and fake news and trolls and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's crazy. And like, we need a solution to this where, if a quantum computer could tell us like, this is fake, this is, and actually start like solving some of these problems, like that would be amazing, because that's something we have to figure out.
Well, it's
really soon.
It's the
before
concept
it's too late.
behind blockchain of you have X number of nodes in the network, and in order for a new block to be created, like all the other ones, or like a transaction to occur, whatever that may be, that thing must be agreed upon by all the other ones. So if someone tries to introduce a false one, a fake one, then it will be rejected. So it's quantum computers could probably accelerate that, because certainly processing these transactions now requires tremendous amounts of compute power, and that's what sucks about blockchain. That's why things like Bitcoin, it's like, yes, there are use cases for cryptocurrencies, but I don't think replacing actual currency is one of them, because we simply don't have the computing power worldwide to do so, right? If you think about all the transactions that occur.
Greenhouse.
So it's like
CO2 nightmare, just trying to run the computers to run the transactions.
Yeah, I mean, it's something like there was I wanted to do a video on it. It was on my list a while ago about like how unsustainable blockchain, cryptocurrencies are because of the compute power, and how it's something like Bitcoin. I forget what the number was. It was something insane, like 10 to 20 times the amount of compute power is running the Bitcoin network versus all of what Google has. It's like stupid, the amount of power being dedicated to cryptocurrencies right now.
Wow.
And that's a problem. Like that creates emissions, computers have to be cooled, things like that. They need electricity. So
wow.
Maybe quantum
That's
computers
insane.
will save us, or they'll destroy all encryption and that's it.
And destroy us.
And just warp space-time. Didn't I hear about somebody had set up a farm, a mining server farm
Bitcoin.
for Bitcoin mining. Anyway, like in the side of a mountain, because it was naturally cooled.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I think
Or
it's
in a cave somewhere.
I think it's in Greenland or something.
Oh,
or
really?
Norway. Yeah, it's like somewhere where it's naturally very cold.
Oh, okay.
And like cold all year round, so that way you put data centers in there, because it's not going to get, there's like not earthquakes and things like that, like it's very safe, but it's also the cooling expense. And in fact, is it Microsoft? Yeah, I think Microsoft was experimenting with deep sea underwater data centers, where they would actually build a data center and put it deep down in the ocean, because it was obviously cold. So they wouldn't have to, and it would save some tremendous amount on all that energy that they need or whatever.
Well,
I can see like a server technician like putting on some scuba gear and a big diving bell. And
I love the idea though of people using server farms to heat like a community though. You ever seen that, where like they use the heat from the server farm to heat stuff? It's just kind of cool.
If you could find a way to Yeah, to like dissipate
Distribute
that
it.
or whatever. Oh,
Yeah.
CNBC. I was trying to show you. Like,
Oh,
there's an actual article
CNBC.
here of from this. Yeah, because they did this already. Microsoft, sunk a massive data center in the
Wow.
ocean. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah. I think it's really fascinating. These things we've created for ourselves.
It's almost like, would that be considered a sunk cost fallacy or not?
Is that a dad joke? You trying to throw
Literally
that
sunk.
I mean, because speaking of sunk cost fallacy,
in? Oh God. Okay, let's see it. Let's see.
NASA. This is my best segue ever. I just want to point out, NASA signed a contract basically saying for sure they'll be purchasing 3 new Orion capsules from Lockheed Martin, and also signed a contract that would allow them to purchase 3 more in 2022 at the price of $900 million each per Orion capsule for the first 3, and then as little as if you buy the first 3, we'll knock 30% off and get the next ones to you for $633 million.
Per mission.
Capsule. I mean, luckily, I think these are meant to be like refurbishable and reusable, slightly. But come on, though. Are you kidding me? We already have. Don't forget, there's already $16 billion spent on the Orion program. $16 billion with. There has been some test flights. There's the FT1. There has been some parachute tests, stuff like that, but no operational flight at all. And we're at $16 billion. And now Lockheed Martin gets to get $900 million. Okay, I am starting this off with a huge, huge sneer of like, oh, come on. Like, you, darn it, NASA, darn it, Lockheed Martin. Okay, I do need to back up. Because part of it is like the structure that both entities are operating under. Like the structure, if we're mad at someone, it shouldn't be mad at NASA. It shouldn't be mad at Lockheed Martin. They're operating under the system that's in place, right? It's not incentivizing anything other than this. Like this is exactly what the outcome is, which is unfortunate. And some of that might be politics and stuff like that. But Lockheed Martin has no incentive to make these inexpensively. And the hard part about when you have cost plus contracting, say something gets delayed, you have to think about, okay, if you have a supply chain and you have people that are literally working on avionics or something, and something gets pushed back, you can't have all those people be like, hey guys, hold on, we're like 6 months behind. Can you go work on, like, why don't you just like take a 6-month break? We're not going to pay you. Like, no, you have to keep all those people. You have to pay all those people to kind of sit there and twiddle their thumbs because they're waiting for the next thing to arrive. There's not really a big scope that they can go out and just like go do something else. Like they're working on a project. They're working on a wiring harness for for the Orion capsule. Like there's very few things. It's actually really hard to get them out of a program and do something else, in this structure. Like there's not a lot of plasticity there. It's like, you're working on this. This is your job. So if we don't get you the thing that you need, it pushes all of that back. All that cost goes up. That's why they're at $16 billion already in the Orion program. And honestly, like, I get it. Like, I want the Artemis program to happen. And this is the way you do it. You actually do get these produced. We get people up in there. This is ready. The thing is that's hard to remember is like people were like, well, Starship. Okay. Look at how long it's taken the Dragon capsule to fly with people. Like, let's be real. Like, let's be honest about how hard it actually is these days when you have strict safety requirements and a really stringent, like, safety protocol. How hard it is to really certify stuff and truly get it ready to put people on board. This isn't the Wild West anymore. There's a lot of safety considerations. And maybe I'm not going to say too risk adverse because you're talking about human lives. Like, you want to not kill them, period. This is the 21st century. Don't need to throw people in tin cans and say, good luck, 50-50, when you're going back to the moon, we want like like a calculatable return rate, like 99.7% or something, and the Orion capsule is literally built within that frame, that safety margin, and that calculatable risk factor that's literally calculated out. It's it's hard. And so Dragon capsule, yes, it's great and it's less expensive than other things, all this stuff. Look how hard it is to build that and actually get that ready for humans. Now imagine trying to scale that up to something the size of Starship. Like, I know that Elon's pushing really hard for like 2022, 2023 or whatever for Dear Moon. Oh, I just can't imagine how you could actually certify and get everything ready for human flight by that time.
That would be the one with like civilians. Right?
Yeah, with Yusaku Maezawa and whoever else he invites on his party.
Any, photographers that are into space, maybe,
I'm sure there's better.
Maybe they have YouTube channels and a podcast.
I'm sure there's better YouTubers out there than any of us. Better photographers.
Instagram influencers and bikinis and stuff.
But it's so this. I have of course there's a sneer to this is insanely cost expensive. Like, this is unbelievably expensive. And I really wish this had 5 years ago, if this was done and ready and this was the order and we're like, hey, in 2 years, this would have been awesome. Yes. But you're looking at this now, and in the context of like watching Starship be built, seeing the success for the most part of the commercial program, including commercial crew, which is so far successful, just slower than I think all of us would have liked. But it's just like, God, really? We're going back to spending $900 million per capsule. That's unbelievable.
And this is supposed to fly on SLS, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
exclusively,
how's that going?
Basically. It's kind of delayed-ish too still. That was supposed to fly 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Like, that's the thing, is like, there's no incentive to get it done on time, financially or otherwise. Like, there should be a financial penalty for not procuring your work in time. Instead, it's like, actually, it's kind of this to Lockheed and Boeing's advantage to actually go slow. They can make more money. They can just send the bill and be like, yeah, sorry, this took an extra 7 months or 7 years. It's job security. But
your payment should be on time.
Yeah. It's frustrating, but it also is exciting because I want Artemis program to happen. I do want it to happen. I do want it to get in motion. And this is the way you do that. It is just like, this is this weird time where all this stuff, again, in my opinion, should have happened like 5, 6, 7 years ago. That would have been par for the course, would have really drummed up some excitement, would have ushered in a new, more, a commercially viable option, the commercial crew program and all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. So then to picture, but it's just like this butting up against like the new oncomer of getting close to that same place. That's just the weird point in history we're at, where that convergent point is just kind of strange.
Man.
Yeah. What are you guys' thoughts? Is that insane though, or not?
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, why don't they just launch it already?
So
it does seem like a throwback to the way things used to be run.
Yeah. Yep. It is. But speaking of why don't they just and throwbacks, let's try to wrap up our show here today with this week's Why Don't They Just. This comes from Twitter, from Bacon a Cake, but it's bacon, from John Ulrich. And I like this one. This one's actually cool. Why don't they just, could we keep the orbital modules of Soyuz attached to the ISS to build out new usable space? So Soyuz capsule obviously is what takes crew up right now. It's the only thing that takes crew up right now to the International Space Station as we speak. Why don't they just like keep a few of them up there and actually expand out the livable, workable space of the International Space Station?
Well,
Ben,
I guess I'm a little confused by this.
How are they going to get back if it's like leaving your car at the party? Like, there's not an Uber coming home, is there?
That's definitely one of the things. Joe?
Well, that just seems so hackery. Like I would rather say, why don't they just like send up a bunch of stuff to make more usable space that's actually designed to go on it, not just like Legoing on little stuff here. Unless maybe the capsule works that way. I don't know. Last time I was in one of those capsules. I don't remember seeing those different attachment points.
Right, Joe. What do you think? Why don't they just do that?
I must be misreading this. So is it saying launch up a whole bunch of Soyuz capsules and attach them to the International Space Station to make more space? Or is it just because
that's
there
kind of the
are
tone.
Soyuz capsules up there?
Yeah, that's kind of the tone, but the key word here is keep. Could we keep the orbital modules of Soyuz attached to the ISS? Like
leave them
to
there.
build out new usable space. Like keep them up there as usable space.
Well, okay. So I don't think it's that much usable space to begin with, but also they already have some up there, don't they? I mean, aren't there like a couple of them there already?
There's pretty much always two.
Yeah,
on station.
For emergencies.
Yep.
So they can get back home.
Yeah. Well, and okay, yeah, you guys are unpacking this correctly. This is a fun one because you kind of do a full 360 on it. You'll be like, wait, what? But yeah.
You can just like throw, put your extra boxes and stuff in there, like all the cords for things you don't need anymore. Because, when did the ISS go up? Like 100 years ago, right? So they probably have like, floppy disk drives and stuff, right?
100 years. Yeah. So let's start off by saying the Soyuz capsule is how you get down. So you can't just like leave them up there. You can't launch people up to space and be like, okay, we're going to leave this one here. Oh, like Ben said.
Do you ever, so in order for that to work, you would have to like launch one up with
People
empty
on it.
space in it. Right?
Which they did actually just recently. They did launch up a new Soyuz, the upgraded Soyuz with the upgraded Soyuz 2.1 rocket. And they just had that Fedor, that robot. So technically there is a total spare one there right now, kind of in a sense.
Okay. Yeah.
So
you'd have to figure that out, right?
Yeah. So the answer is not only are you taking up docking ports, you're using a vehicle. Have you ever seen the inside of a Soyuz capsule? It is not what I would call usable space. No. Like Joe said, it's tiny. It's teeny.
Like they barely have room for the astronauts in there.
Yeah, and there's no room for anything really. Like that's the worst thing to send up if you're trying to expand the International Space Station. The other thing is those Soyuz capsules can't stay on station for more than an extended period of time. A lot of it is because they have solid rocket motors inside. Some of it is there. I don't know if this is entirely true, but they do have, abort motors, or not the abort motors. This is the landing. Right when the Soyuz capsule lands, it actually, even under parachutes, has some retro thrusters that are solid rocket motors that help make it land softer on ground. They have those, and those actually have like a time frame that they're safe to be considered in space. Luckily, they are pretty much environmentally controlled because they're inside the thing. They're not entirely, they're not going through the full thermal cycles of outer space where every 45 minutes you're going from like plus 250 Celsius to minus 250 Celsius. Like they aren't being thermally cycled like that, but there is still a safety lifespan of like, we shouldn't have these up here because all of a sudden one day one could just degrade and, blow up. So there's some considerations like that. But then you as far as usable space, like in 2015, 16, 2017, we took up the beam module, the Bigelow expandable something module, expandable air module or something. And it's this expandable, inflatable-ish module that was a perfect tech demonstrator that, they made room for, they docked it to a thing. And all it is just usable space. It's basically now their closet. And NASA actually approved it to be on station longer, so you can just kind of throw stuff in there, not entirely, but it's a great usable space. It's just empty. It's just an empty
thing. So that would be much easier, right? Because
way better.
Yeah.
Why would you send up a Soyuz capsule that has all this junk in it that has, all these other systems? Like, send up a purpose-built thing for that purpose. Like, I see where they were coming from. But, that's not the way to do it.
It seems like it'd be, me, I'm just kind of wild out pie in the sky stuff, but almost if you could, instead of getting a capsule like that, get like a fairing or something from the rocket, like some other massively big piece of the rocket that's like
upper stage
already, somewhere in the upper, like some part of the
just
upper
the whole
stage
upper stage. That's basically what Skylab was. Mm-hmm. Skylab was literally the third stage of a Saturn V, hollowed out with no hardware.
Yeah.
And they made it into this huge module. Or there were plans to use the space shuttle external fuel tanks as space stations someday. Like let them, instead of deorbiting them intentionally, you actually ride them up into orbit, and then you have additional hardware that allows them to dock, and you can turn them into habitats.
And then you connect them with a rope and you spin them really fast.
Like we talk about every week, basically.
I was gonna say, that's never gonna be.
On this episode of Why Not Artificial Gravity. Yeah.
Man.
So it was a fun, I mean, I just thought that was a fun question because it actually had a lot to unpack, in a surprisingly few amount of words.
Yeah.
But really in space, like there's no such thing as one size fits all for anything in space. And you're better to intentionally build hardware for its purpose. If you need usable volume, there's some great solutions. If you need, blah, 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 re-entry, that's another thing. If you need it to be habitable with people on ascent, that's another thing. Like there's all these considerations, and using something that has to do all of those things in a very tight contained space is probably your worst solution to trying to build out your space station.
Yeah.
Well,
that sounds like a purpose-built solution. That brings up the second why don't they just?
What was the second why don't they just?
See, now this one is on the electric car side, and I'm doing it because I have a good answer, and I want to hear what you guys think, because this is a legit question.
For once, Ben wants to feel smart.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not even me being smart. I just found the answer, so I'll just. PMAC in our Discord asks, Teslas have a normal lead-acid battery for the 12-volt system. Why don't they just step down some of the power from the main battery for this system?
I've got an answer.
Go for it.
Oh, I think the Model Y is getting rid of the 12-volt system and going to a common 48-volt system or whatever it is.
400 volt.
Well, 400 volt total, but I think they're like stepping down to, or 24 volt, something like that. They're basically doing that. Is my understanding. I might be wrong, but I think they're getting rid of the 12 volt system. But I'm guessing that the reason you wouldn't want to do that is that if you probably want some of those systems on a different loop for some reason. I don't really know. Maybe because if your battery dies, like your main battery dies, and you're driving a car down the interstate, you don't want it, like everything to literally be dead. Like you kind of want to separate your range from your functionality of your car, and having that on its own 12-volt system.
You're getting close.
Make sure that there's no chance of I'm driving and now I don't have a car, at all.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
That's pretty close, I'd say. Joe?
I don't know that I have a better answer than that. That's a pretty good answer. But I know what they're talking about because they did the service on my car last week.
You just got it changed,
Monday.
right?
Well, they didn't mess with the battery, but he opened up the thing and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, that's like an old school battery in there."
Yeah,
kind of.
And it's small, right?
Actually, it looked
a
lot. Yeah, it looked
tiny.
like the one that was on my Vespa back when I had a Vespa.
Oh, really? It's just a tiny little like motorcycle battery?
It's really small.
Maybe a little bit bigger than that.
Oh,
but yeah.
that's cute.
It made me think of that.
Yeah, like the Soyuz
but that's
capsule.
the best. That's the best answer I got. I mean, that you just want to keep it separate so that we wouldn't knock both things out at the same time.
So I'll give you a point for that, Tim. There's a couple things here. So yes, you want them separate. So, have you guys ever had your car reboot when you're driving?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, maybe once or twice. Yeah.
Notice you can still keep driving.
Yeah.
Right. That's and by the way, I mean, I'm sure you guys know this, but just to put it out there, because a lot of people don't realize this. Cars since I think the mid 80s or even a little bit earlier than that are basically all computer driven. So prior to that, in like the 60s and stuff, when you actually press the gas pedal, it would actually open up like a flap in the carburetor and like shoot fuel in.
Yeah.
But in the 80s is when it really took hold that they stopped doing that. So now when you press the gas pedal, that sends a signal to a computer inside what's called the CAN, the controller area network. And that then triggers your fuel injectors or whatever to do the thing. So cars are all computer controlled. And so that system that actually tells your car to go forward needs to be, as you said, on a separate system that runs like your media center and those things. So that's how you can reboot your car and it not like, slam on the brakes or something like that, because those are separated for that reason. But apparently there is a Department of Transportation requirement that cars need to be able to run things like hazard lights unassisted for at least 1 hour. So that would mean your battery pack, that's part of your, essentially your, drive unit, needs to be separate from something else that allows it to run hazard lights or whatever else it needs to do. So that's one, this is the kind of a rumor, but one that's been around for a while, that there's an actual requirement on automakers to make that. And when you have a car that runs on gas, you don't even think about it. You're like, yeah, of course, that's what the battery's for, right? But when you have a car that runs on a battery, you think, well, that's kind of weird. So there's that. But also batteries, according to my contact here that knows a lot more about this than I do, he says that they act like a capacitor, and it smooths out some of the power ripples. So the idea is that you have AC and DC power, and you need to convert those things. And if you have an electric power steering, it can have like a surge of power that it's asking for from that converter, and it can actually destroy the converter and like damage it. So the lead acid battery, the 12-volt battery, actually acts as sort of an intermediary that can handle that surge and not overwhelm the DC converter or whatever. So there's kind of more functional reasons to it, but also some of those keeping the system separate and Department of Transportation regulation or whatever. Same reason like you still have a hazards button, where I think it's the only button in the car other than I guess the steering wheel buttons maybe. Right.
And like window switches, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, hazards button. Yeah.
Could you imagine if you had to go to the screen to roll down your window? That would be terrible.
That might be taking it too far.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the question, PMAC. Hope that answer was good. I just felt I had to get that one in there because I had. It was actually Michael, the owner of EV West, that gave me all that info.
Oh, cool.
So thank you, Michael.
I like that
EV
guy.
West.
He was really nice.
Yeah. Got to meet him.
Yeah, he was awesome. Sweet. What are you guys working on?
Well, I kind of hinted to it earlier. I got to follow up on the blockchain and Bitcoin, crypto kind of thing.
Are you talking about quantum computing in it?
Do what now?
Are you talking about quantum computing in it?
No. Actually, that came out. I just saw that yesterday before we did this, but I was already working on that video. No, one of my writers, Cooper, he's like super into crypto and all that. So I wanted to do a follow-up, but I just kind of didn't know where to start. I hadn't really been following it that closely, and he was like, oh, I could do it. So he jumped in there, and no, there's some interesting stuff still going on in that space. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Super fun.
What about you, Ben?
I'm working on this Aerospike video.
I know.
You knew I was going to say it.
I know.
Actually, guys, I built something that you might like, and this is going to come out next week.
Ooh.
So, do you guys remember that Tesla had a charging cost calculator back in the day?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, and this was before the Model 3, but you could choose like Model S, Model X, whatever, and then punch in some numbers and it would show you. I haven't been able to find that since, so I thought I would just build one. And so that's what next week's video is going to be about. So the way this works, I'll give you guys a preview here, is you punch in your... So the idea is to compare how much you would save in gas by owning a Tesla versus a gas car, I suppose. And so you punch in your miles per gallon. I defaulted to 32. Your electricity price in kilowatt hours, which in San Diego in our super off-peak is 9 cents. Joe, what is it for you? Is it like 3 cents?
I'm not sure. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think it's about it's like 5 or 6 for me.
Yeah. So I did the math on it. With my solar panels, it comes out to 6 cents 7 cents per kilowatt hour. So you punch that in, you punch in the average price of gas, which I had to look up, obviously, and it's insane how expensive it is. Then you punch in your monthly miles, and it just spits out a number here. So if you guys are just listening, we're looking at a Model 3, comparing with 9 cents per kilowatt hour, average price of gas $3.78, miles per gallon 32. You would save 77% by owning this car versus on fuel.
And those numbers are $34 of electricity versus $153 in gas.
Yeah, it's a big.
So if you're leasing a car and you basically have an extra $120 more that you could spend towards, like, for say, a Model 3. So if you're leasing a car at $300 a month right now and driving these numbers versus, leasing a Model 3, yeah, you would actually walk away with $20 in your pocket each month.
And then in the calculator you can change to a Model S, goes up to $44, and then a Model X, it goes up to $52. But the thing about if you change that factor here, the model, you probably should change the miles per gallon, because there's no way you're going to get a crossover SUV like the Model X size that gets 32 miles per gallon. So these numbers, anyways. So I just thought I would build this because I didn't see a good one out there, and the one I had actually was pretty old. And it defaulted to a bunch of things. So this is more of an evergreen one that you can just punch these in. So that'll be out. And one interesting thing about this is that in order to, because miles per gallon in the electric car space is kind of like your watt hours per mile. So I actually pull in Tesla data, and so to calculate that. So I'm not using these kind of fake, like, done in a lab watt hours per mile figures. I'm using real data here. So if you choose a Model 3, you're looking at 1.6 million driving trips that have been logged, showing a median watt hours per mile for the Model 3 of 290. So you can get above that or below that, obviously driving habits, etc. The Model S is at 380 for the watt hours per mile, and the Model X is at 447. So that's also just like an interesting little tidbit there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is right there. That number that you're seeing, the watt hour per mile, is exactly why I'm telling you, if you're trying to go on a road trip where you're going 1,000 miles in a day, that you will get there faster in a Model 3 than even a very long range Model S.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it handles the same amount of electricity charge comes in, but it makes better use of that on the road.
Yeah, it's like better gas
mileage.
mileage. Same idea.
Yeah. Exactly.
And the difference in the overall pack size / distance you get isn't that much.
'Cause you're not going to be filling them up either.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be sitting there topping it off 100%. You're just going to take as much as you can get to the next one. And when you're doing that, yeah.
And then there's also the V3 charging. When that starts rolling out, that'll be a big deal. They have, okay, so Tesla truck unveil sometime in November, we think. And I have to imagine we're going to get a Model S, X, V3 charging at least. I don't know if the plaid powertrain thing will come out, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Any speculation? What else we'll see there?
I think V3 charging has to come out for the S and X.
It has to.
Very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
otherwise, it doesn't need the interior refresh and things like that yet, but that is, it needs to at least be on parity with the Model 3. Otherwise, it's not a flagship.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
yeah. It looks like you're getting close to your video, though, Tim.
Well, it's kind of getting on pause right now because it's like Starship week, so that's why I ended up releasing a video in the meantime. Like, it's so funny. An easy video for me is still a 7-page script and a 20-minute video, Yeah. But with this, I didn't have to research anything. I know this stuff, the concepts and everything well enough that I can just write it. And I wrote that in 2 hours, basically. Whereas Aerospikes, there was so much stuff that I had to research and learn myself before I even got to the point. Because you have to know all the conclusions before you start writing the script. Otherwise, your whole script will change when you're like, oh, wait, but there's that, oh, crap, So, Aerospikes took me so long because I had to solve it first, And this is I know this. I can write the stuff. So there's going to be a lot more, I'm going to have a live stream ahead of Starship. I'm going to do a quick rundown of what we learned at Starship afterwards. And then I'm still probably going to do does Starship need an abort system video? All before the Aerospike video. Just because it's kind of that time of year. Starship time of year.
Yeah. It did seem a little bit
makes sense.
That your latest video there were points of oh, Elon just responded to this, so I had to jump in and change that little bit. Did that? That must happen to you more than anyone else. But
I literally had video that I had already shot and done completely that I put on Twitter, and he replied to it. That was back in the video. It was the most meta thing ever. Really, that's so weird. So weird. So there's some of that stuff, but in general, the Aerospike thing is super evergreen. That is timeless. I want that to be able to be looked at as a resource in 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Stuff like this I can crank out. It's not as big of a deal. I don't care about its accuracy. I don't care about its the graphics and stuff like that as much. So I'm just gonna sneak a few of these in quick, just during that time frame. But the Aerospike video, I'm still waiting on footage still from Aerojet. They've gotten back to me a few times being like, we're working on it. So I hope that they're actually like working on it, because that would be so cool. And so I would hate to release the video before that's either like a known, like if they're about to give me footage, I will wait 2 months and I'll start putting out other stuff. Sorry, guys. Priorities, So Aerospike's on hold for just a brief little bit. We're in a hold, scrubbed for now, but
I never want to hold again.
but I'll get back at it. So I'm excited. I want that one to be done more than anybody, but the timing's got to be right for it. Yep.
Good deal. Looking forward to all the Starship stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna be a busy week. So, all right, guys. Well, does that do it?
Yeah.
I think so.
We'll see you.
Okay. In
our
ludicrous future. Hey, thanks so much for listening. If you like what we do and you want to kind of help get it out there, you can give us a nice review on any of your podcast streaming platforms, whichever one you use. That kind of helps get it out there. Also, we do have a Patreon set up, so you can join us there at patreon.com/ourludicrousfuture. You can get your name in the credits, meet a whole other group of like-minded people. It's a lot of fun. We do appreciate it. We'll see you there. Thanks.